Welcome back to the podcast. It's me, Pete Mitchell from Maverick Weddings, and we've got an awesome guest today. It's Greg from GBweddingfilms. He's actually an award-winning destination filmmaker, destination wedding, I should say, filmmaker, master of workshops, and also education in the wedding industry. So welcome, Greg. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
No, it's been great to have you. You're just saying earlier on, your background is spot on. It's banging. It's very good.
Yeah, it's the office I've been working on for a while. It's been a lot of heartache, to be dead honest with you, and a lot of money. But yeah, we've got there in the end. And like I say, a few little tweaks I need to make, but otherwise, we're nearly there.
Yeah. What's your plans for it? You got such a nice space. What's the sort of goal?
So I wanted to have the office as an extension of the house, to be honest. I wanted to be able to come in here and spend a lot of hours in here, as you know, filming and editing weddings. The editing process takes forever, doesn't it, to be honest with you, admittedly. But, you know, you want to make sure that you're comfortable enough that you don't mind staying here for long periods of time, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of, again, an extension of the house. So I've got like, it sounds so stupid, but I've got like bits of like candles and books and stuff. The candles get lit, the books never get read.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just, it feels like home in here. So, but then behind me is like the workbench where obviously I charge all my batteries, and it's like, you know, the usual stuff, set up cameras and all that type of stuff. And then here, what you can't see is my desk. So, yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. That's good. Yeah, I love it. As a comedian that spoke about books, he goes, they're in the background. And it's basically, look at all the information I have. It's all inside my head.
Yeah. Mine's just picture books, unfortunately. I think I've got I've got a Tom Ford book. I think everyone's got a Tom Ford book, which I've never opened. It was a Christmas present for my wife. And then I've got a book of the Ultimate Sneaker book, which is just pictures of shoes, basically.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
When you said picture book, all I had was The Hungry Caterpillar.
Yeah. And when we're in between edits, I get my crayons out and I just, colour it and stuff. Yeah.
Love it. Right. How was the start of the year gone for you then? Are you kind of getting straight into it?
It's a weird one, to be honest. This year versus last. My first wedding in 2024, for example, was the 5th of January. And my last wedding was the 30th of December. So it was right the way through. Whereas this year, my first wedding isn't till the 1st of March. But that's worked out quite nicely because I've got a backlog of edits to get on with and other stuff, you know, mentoring and admin and all that type of fun stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's nice. I was the same, really.
Yeah.
My last wedding was the 30th of December. And then I had my next one after that on the 17th of January.
Yeah.
It wasn't really much of a break, but I do like this time because it's kind of a bit of a lull, isn't it? It's quite nice to just sort of recoup.
Yeah.
How are you on editing? How are you caught up?
Nearly caught up. Yeah. I mean, I've been more behind on my trailers, believe it or not. I've been more focused on making sure that the clients are getting their feature films faster than the trailers. So the trailers have been a little bit slower, but what I have been doing unofficially, I've been editing kind of like 30 to 40-second snippets for them the day after the wedding. Just because I like to give them something to kind of just keep them happy. Do you know what I mean? I obviously the content makes a difference for us as well. It's how we get our work. So, you know, I want to make sure that I've got something to post for them. And then, like I say, the trailer is, as you know, again, it's a mini film. So I get that done eventually. But again, the main one was just making sure that they get the feature films in time, to be honest. Yeah. So yeah, I'm nearly caught up on everything, to be honest. But the fact that my first wedding's the 1st of March is really nice.
Yeah.
It feels a bit weird to be kind of sat here just editing so much, and but it's nice. Yeah. I'm not complaining, put it that way.
No, yeah, I speak to some photographers who there's one guy who I've worked with quite a lot, and he's all done now. I think he completed it literally 2 weeks after his first wedding of the year, and In a way, I wish I had that. I wish I had just now 3 months of just chill.
Yeah.
But I'd also be so bored. I know. I need something to keep my mind busy. Are you the same?
I mean, listen, there's an element of like I do get jealous when especially with traveling
Mm.
for destination weddings and stuff. You know, when you're working with photographers and they rock up with one backpack and it's like two bodies, three lenses, five batteries, and sometimes they got a flash gun and sometimes they haven't. And I'm like looking at like, I mean, that Pelly there is what I travel with,
Oh man.
plus like two tripods, a monopod, and extra bits and bobs. So there is that element where it's like, you know, sometimes I wish I was a photographer,
Mm.
but I don't because I love the creativity of video. But the edit time, I think, is sometimes that something that's overlooked as a filmmaker because, I mean, controversial comment, but there's a lot more work that goes into video than there is into photo, isn't there?
Oh, 100%. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's not even controversial. That's just fact.
yeah. I just don't like to piss the other photographers off. To be honest with you, but it is what it is, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I completely agree with you. You know, we've got to think about audio. We've got to think about multiple camera angles, and
Yeah,
it's
for
the same.
sure.
Yeah, I get it.
That's it. But yeah, I think as far as backlog, I'll probably be. I think by the end of March, I'll be caught up. Is the honest answer. So that'll be nice going into say like April, May, and then because May is when it kicks off for me. To be honest with you, it's like it's more or less back to back then. So yeah, I'll
Yeah,
be nearly there.
that's good. That's good. I think I'm probably on par with you. I'm the same.
Mm-hmm.
March. Yeah,
Definitely, definitely.
be good. So you mentioned about destination weddings there.
Yeah,
You remember the first one you ever shot?
I do. Yeah, like really vividly, to be honest, because it kind of propelled me into where I am now, really, because my second ever wedding inquiry was for Spain.
No way.
Yeah, so it's a question that comes up to me quite frequently is how do you get into destinations? And that kind of led on to now running the workshops, which
Mm.
we'll talk about shortly. But ultimately, my second ever inquiry was for Spain. And I mean, first and foremost, when I first started shooting weddings, I left my business more or less to go. I was a hairdresser slash barber, and I went into then obviously filming weddings. And the second ever inquiry was for Spain. It was a wedding in Marbella actually. And when the inquiry comes through, I thought, oh my god, people are willing to pay for me to go to Spain and shoot the wedding. This feels weird, but also amazing. Do you know what I mean? Um, so yeah, I remember it really, really well. To be honest with you, so much so that there was like a bit of an event that happened on the weekend of the wedding when I was filming, and it's never happened again. But the bride asked me to film the hen do,
Oh no way.
which was in a pool party in Marbella, and yeah, it was mental.
Your
To be
second.
honest, it was scary actually. To be fair, but yeah, it was good, but it was a bit like, oh my god, this is weird. Like, you know what I mean? But then also my second shooter, who is my mother-in-law, whether you knew that or not, but she come along with me, and she was like, this is amazing, and she's never been to a pool party before. In fact, not like I'm some sort of like cool kid who's been
Every weekend.
party, but yeah, of course, yeah, obviously. But she was sat there like sipping pina coladas at the bar at this like pool party in Marbella, and I'm like running around going, "This is the weirdest job in the world," but it's so good, you know what I mean? Really cool and really different. So yeah,
That's mad. That's so cool.
yeah.
And well done for saying Marbella properly. Not Montbella.
Yeah, Marbella. Yeah,
Marbella.
yeah.
That's great. I used to live in Spain, so my wife is
Oh,
she grew
really?
up in Spain, yeah. So that's pretty cool. We lived on the other side though,
Amazing. Yeah.
so not near Marbella. We lived near sort of near Alicante area.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a lot different there, but yeah. I mean,
It is actually. Yeah.
speaking about your workshop. First of all, before we go into the workshops, your mother-in-law is your second shooter.
Yeah. So
Man.
it's a strange dynamic, to be dead honest. It's probably a dynamic that on paper shouldn't work. Because I know guys that I speak to, including friends and stuff, and they say I couldn't imagine spending an hour alone with my mother-in-law, never mind a full weekend in Spain or a full wedding day, like, 10, 12-hour shoot day. But honestly, yeah, it was a weird one because actually I tried to get my wife involved and she just was not interested at all. And I think it was more the fact that she had to work with me as well. I think she just didn't want to work with me, which is fair, I get it. And then one day, I mean, I have this saying, it's not my saying, but the saying, you throw an and some of it will stick. And I'm like heavily into tech. I love tech and I love gear and all that, which obviously in this job is a problem because I buy too many lenses, too many cameras and all that type of stuff. And then one day she started reeling off like these lenses that I've been shooting weddings with. And she was like, I'd love to do that. And I was like, would you? I was like, oh, good for you type of thing. And then, yeah, it just kind of like happened organically, really. And she just come along with me to one of my first weddings. And then, yeah, and next month she's in Marbella with me. It was dead odd, but yeah, it was good how it worked out. And she's really good. And she's actually, one thing that's really good about Paula in particular is that I think on the day of a wedding in particular, there's a lot of time when the mother of the bride, let's say, this is one instance, but the mother of the bride tends to sometimes tiptoe around the bride because they don't want to upset them, they don't want to piss them off, and they don't want to turn the daughter into bridezilla, for example. So then Paula is that kind of mediator where she'll kind of take over, not take over as like the mother of the bride, but she'll take over some of the roles where the mother might be a little bit apprehensive to get involved. And then it's almost like really appreciated as well. So there's obviously boundaries and you don't want to overstep them off, but ultimately, yeah, she's there to help as well as shoot. And she ultimately captures a lot of my BTS content as well. If the wedding's a smaller wedding where we can able to shoot that type of stuff. But yeah, she's
really
amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, she's great help. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really nice. I've always had this, well, not this fear, but like my wife's done some weddings with me before and it's worked really well. But I've always had this kind of fear of getting family involved with work. And I think it's nice that you're kind of breaking that and it's working. So that's really cool.
Yeah. I think, there's never, I think she'll know a point when, because I'd have her come to all the weddings, to be honest. But obviously there's a point when she can't come to them all because, sometimes with Destination in particular, I have had to now, because the cost of everything, to be dead honest with you, like the cost of flights has gone up and the hotel costs and the city tax premiums and stuff. So she can't come to all the destinations. But saying that, she can't come to all of them because she's got her own work commitments and, she's the kid's grandmother as well. So, it's trying to balance everything. But 9 times out of 10, she's almost like my best friend, to be honest with you. Again, dead strange on paper, but it works really well for me and for us collectively,
That's really nice. That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's cool. And do you also sometimes work in a holiday for yourself? And are you married or you've got a partner?
Yes. Yeah, I'm married and 2 kids, yeah. So yeah. I will more often than not, make a holiday out of it, to be honest with you, which last year was funny because it become a bit of not a problem. It's a nice problem to have, like, ultimately. But, when you kind of look and think, yeah, we've been away quite a lot, really. Do you know what I mean? It's obviously because of work. But, yeah, as much as I can bring them with me, I always will, because I always think, like, I'd like to let them experience different places and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it's really good, yeah, that they can come along and on the ride with me, I suppose,
Yeah, it is really nice.
Yeah.
I've only ever done one destination, and that we did a month in America, and it was it's pretty cool. I think for me, if I was going to do destinations in the UK, I've had inquiries come through, but it's always been in like summertime for me. And just financially, it doesn't really work out because I can do 4 weddings here for one destination wedding. I mean, do you find that sometimes? Do you find that you turn away a destination wedding because of you could have more here?
The thing is, there is an element of that, but I think from my previous jobs and previous businesses, I was stuck behind. Obviously, I was a hairdresser and a barber, so I was stuck behind a chair for 20 years. So I think that the value of experience is more important than sometimes the financial. There has been times, luckily enough, and it's worked out really well in this respect, but there has been times over the last couple of years where I've had back-to-back Italy weddings, or like I've been able to travel to different locations from or to and from. So last year I had a wedding on the 3rd of August in the Amalfi Coast, and then on the 4th I had one in Sorrento. They're literally 40 minutes apart. So that was good. And obviously I brought the kids with me and Helen as well. So we made a holiday out of it as well. But they don't all work like that, by the way.
No.
But when they do, it's like, it is worth it, you know what I mean? But I've just took up another booking this week where the wedding is in Seville, and then 2 days later I'm going to be in Lake Garda.
Man.
So it's actually easier to fly to certain places from Europe. So when it works out like that, which, like I say, guaranteed, it doesn't always work out that way, but when it does, it's a little bit of stress, you know, like with the flights and the internal flights and stuff. But actually, when it does work out, it's quite nice. Do you know what I mean? So,
would you say you do more destination weddings than like UK weddings then?
I think my wife thinks I do anyway. She's like, all you do is destination. And I was like, well, no, it's just what tends to happen, I find, is that a lot of destination inquiries tend to be quite last minute.
Right.
I mean, not very last minute, by the way, but they will be last minute to the point where it could be 6 to 12 months, where a lot more UK weddings, they are a bit more organised. Rightly or wrongly, I don't know why that is, by the way, but I find that like the diary for 2026 already, I mean, I've only got, say, like 8, maybe 10 weddings in for 2026, and 2 out of the 10 are destination. So it's not always that way, but again, you know, I think it's safe to say that you've got to charge a premium for being out of office as well. So I think, like you said there, you know, you could ultimately do 2 or 3 weddings over weekends, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the UK. But then, you know, if I was to do it in Europe, the client would have to basically pay. To be honest, to kind of cover that deficit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, makes complete sense.
Yeah.
That's good. That's nice. Oh, on the Red Bull. Rocket fuel.
It's been a long day already, to be fair,
That's good. Right, so you touched on earlier on about your workshops. The workshops Avanza, isn't it?
Avanza, yeah. It's Avanza. It's Italian for advance. So it's basically like it's a play on words of like advance your career, to be honest. A lot of people who I speak to, like I said earlier, people want to get into destinations, but they don't really know the avenues of how to get into destinations. Luckily enough for me, like I said, I got into it by accident because my second ever inquiry was for Spain.
Yeah.
And then once I had kind of destination content, it was like, oh, I didn't know you travelled. Of course you can travel. You know, come to my wedding and all that type of stuff. Whereas now, there's almost like a weird kind of, I don't even know how to explain it really, but there's almost like a lack of trust from the clients to the you know, the videographer or the photographer. It's like, well, if they've never shot abroad, I don't know how they're going to do it. It's like, well, to be honest, it's no different. You're just traveling with your gear to a different country.
Yep.
And it's the same setup and the same way you'd work in the UK, but you're in Spain or France or America or wherever. So the whole point of Avanza was just to put on workshops, put on these kinds of high-end luxury style shoots abroad, and let people come over and experience what it's like for a kickoff, but then ultimately have the portfolio to then push themselves further forward into destinations. And we've got some really cool stories from people who've joined. And now, I mean, there was one guy in particular, and he's like, I think he took like 3 weddings on in Miami this year. And it's like, that's amazing. Do you know what I mean? Wow. It's like, it's good to see that like people are applying what they've captured content wise and used it to move forward, you know? I think it's, having these shoots and putting on styled shoots and whatever else it's all well and good, but if you're not going to apply not necessarily the math, but you've got to make sure you utilize the content as much as you can to let people know that you are capable of doing these sorts of things as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. What's the space like as well? Then? Do you have a cap on how many photographers go, how many videographers go?
Yeah. We don't want it to be overcrowded by any
Yeah.
means. We want to make sure that everyone's got ample time and space with the couples. We do use model couples, but the couples are real couples, so it's not like no fake affection whatsoever.
Yeah.
So when we ask them to kiss, they actually kiss. Do you know what I mean? If it was just like my wife was like, I could be like, I could be like a model and like, whatever. And I was like, but that means I'd have to get you to kiss another fella. I was like, no, stop now. But yeah, as it happens, like I say, the couples we use, the real couples. But I think that's another thing as well, like with the destination workshops, is that we've tried not to just use UK model couples, because there's a lot of UK workshops that will use the UK model couple. So we've used couples from like Germany and Italian couples and stuff. So like that's been nice as well, just to kind of break everything up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's the first workshop we've done, there was 8 people. Now there was a reason behind doing 8 people, because in Paris, where the first workshop was, if you have more than 8 people shooting on the streets, you need a permit from the French government.
Right. Okay.
So it was like, we physically can't have more than 8 people shooting, which was automatically a cock up on my part, because I was like, well, I'm going to be shooting, and I've got the behind the scenes guy shooting, and then I've got my friend who's a photographer who's getting the photography for us. So there was like 11 people nearly shooting. I was like, shit, I don't know if I'm going to get caught here, but like it worked out all right, and touch wood, I haven't been caught yet, and I'm not in prison in France. But then with the venues in particular, we have free reign of the space. I'll always make sure that we've got like the free reign of, to utilize the space. With Lake Como, the last one we've done, we sold 10 tickets of 12, and we had 2 model couples. So I just send 5 off that way and 5 off that way, and then
that's cool. Yeah,
you've got plenty of space and time. Yeah, and it's the same with the one we've got coming up now in Ibiza on the 29th of April. Shameless plug, obviously. We still have a few tickets left, but yeah, again, it's the same. We've actually got a villa on the west coast of, I just do me north, south, east, west. on the west coast of Ibiza, yeah, which is facing like Esvedra and the sea and stuff. So we've got a whole villa and 2 model couples. So it's going to be the same again. We're just going to split everyone off, and yeah. So yeah,
that's really cool. And do you like almost stage a ceremony as well and do all that sort of stuff? Stage a few bits.
We will stage a few bits, yeah. It all depends on the setup, because what we do is we get a lot of we have planners who work with us as well. So the one in Ibiza in particular, we've got an amazing planner called Lauren, who her company's called Hidden Treasures Ibiza. She is basically setting up everything as if it was a wedding. So, but it's hard to do 2 full wedding setups. So you don't want to do, say, like, we can do 2 setups and 2 like tablescapes with 2 different sets of floristry. Obviously, that's where the financial aspect comes in, and that's where it costs us more to do it. Hence why we have to price it the way we price it. However, if we were to set up 2 weddings, it can prove quite difficult in the space and the time that we've got. Even though we've got a lot of time, we try not to. I mean, I want to make sure that the participants get, like, say, 10 to 12 hours worth of shooting. But if you actually break it down to a wedding day, we probably get, if you actually work out how much time we spend shooting, it might only be 6 to 7 hours continuous. Obviously, you bear in mind, like, during ceremony, you just stood there doing nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then during, like, the speeches, you stood there, and then you get your break and you have something to eat and that type of thing. But ultimately, you still want to make sure that you're squeezing every drop out of the content, because I don't want people to go away and go, oh, I wish I'd have got that, or I wish I'd have tried this setting on my camera. And I think with the workshops, you can definitely be a bit more adventurous anyway, because on the day of the wedding, you do play it safe. And I say play it safe. Everyone's creative in their own way, shape, or form. But I think on the day of the wedding, you know what works. So to try and like use a different lens might be so daunting for a photographer or videographer. But this time round, for Ibiza especially, we've had a lot of interest from content creators, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for them as well, because obviously at first everyone was like, oh, you're really going to let content creators come to the workshop? I was like, yeah, of course. I was like, it's there's no kind of like excluding people or anything like that. It's not about that. The whole point of Avanza is the community aspect, and that we all can get the content together and help each other. And there's been a lot of time like in the WhatsApp groups where people will refer each other. If like a videographer can't shoot this certain wedding, then he will pass it on to someone else. And I love that about the whole aspect of like the community side of it. But I think with the content creators now wanting to come on board, they're the ones who might need to learn the spatial awareness of how a wedding works, and how we shoot and what's important to us. But also they're still getting the equal amount of time as the photographers and the videographers. So it's a good mix, to be dead honest.
Yeah, no, that's really nice. That is good. And also, I guess you've also got to learn as part of filming or shooting abroad. That obviously the different environments, the different temperatures that your cameras, certain cameras might not be able to last for as long, and you won't know that unless you do these workshops with no stress involved. So it's a lovely little aspect of it as well.
Exactly. I think that's actually one of the things that really gets overlooked though with the workshops. Actually, it's not just your gear; it's how you travel with your gear. It's how many batteries you're allowed to take, and it's like what you wear, in Spain. Like when I'm shooting in the UK, I might wear some photographers and videographers wear like close enough to a suit. Should you wear a suit in 35-degree heat in the height of summer in Ibiza? Probably not.
Hell no.
So it's trying to figure out these little things that might work for them and not work for others.
Yep.
I mean, to be honest, another funny story really. I ended up I posted a behind the scenes video of me shooting in Lake Como. I think this was about 2.5 years ago now, and so many Italian photographers and videographers were commenting on it because I had a pair of Birkenstocks on and a pair of shorts, and they were disgusted.
Really?
Trust me, they were fuming. They were like, "What? I can't believe that you're actually shooting a wedding in flip-flops." I was like, "Whoa, they're not flip-flops." Yeah, they're certainly not flip-flops. Obviously, I like to try and be cool because there's a lot of running around that I think gets overlooked as well on the day of the wedding. But ultimately, you want to be comfortable. You want to make sure that I want to make sure that I'm efficient enough. I don't want to be bogged down by like gear or, oh my God, these pair of pants are like sticking to my legs and I can't move now because of none of that. So again, it's just teaching yourself these incremental changes that will help you moving forward.
That's true. That's good. That's hilarious. I love that. They're all getting irate about you.
I was like, they've just got so much to say for themselves, haven't they? It's like, I got into like this really like awkward professional argument with this guy, and he was just like, I can't believe this is disgusting. But I found out that a lot of the photographers and videographers who are based in Italy, they rely heavily on referrals from planners.
Right.
So obviously because the planners the photographers and videographers get so much referral work from the planners, they have a dress code to meet.
Right.
But I was like, ultimately, I'm not getting booked on how I look.
Yeah.
I think, I get booked on the quality of my work.
Yeah. Snap some pasta.
yeah, basically, yeah. What it was actually, the biggest thing from it was that, like, because I do post like the behind the scenes content quite frequently, it's not a shock for clients when I'm turning up and I'm wearing like, I'm not a scruff by any means. I'm turning up in like relatively nice sandals and shorts and nice like t-shirts and stuff. But it's not a shock for the client. I suppose if the business was completely faceless, and I just turned up in a black tracksuit, that might be a bit frowned
Yeah,
upon. But yeah, it's not a shock to them, put it that way.
No, I think that's a good point, really, because I get booked quite a lot just from a couple emails or a couple messages on Instagram, and I
Yeah,
think it's normally because they already know what I'm like. As you said, I post behind the scenes the same as you,
yeah,
and people know exactly my personality already, so they feel like they
yeah,
know you. So I think it's good. It's a good little lesson there that if people, especially
100%.
suppliers.
I think it's such a mad industry in that respect, though, because I mean, I've had multiple calls last year with brides where they get on the phone and the first thing they say is like, just before we kind of get into like, what's happening with the wedding and whatever, we know we want to book you,
Mm,
but we want to make sure that actually you are the same person that you portray yourself as on Instagram and on your website and stuff, because we just want to see like if you
yeah,
are that person and if you're cool and we'll get on, I suppose. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's quite nice in that respect. Yeah, I mean, one couple in particular last year, I ended up having like a 2 hour chat about F1 and football, and I was like, this is weird. I was like, we haven't even talked about weddings yet. It's like
Yeah.
this is dead strange. But again, it's all about the relationships, isn't it? And then they ended up they booked, by the way. But then a couple of weeks ago, they messaged me and said, "This is what we've got for the wedding," and they've rented an F1 simulator for the wedding.
Oh, awesome!
And I
That's
was
so
like, that
cool.
is sick. That's cool, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm going to be using that while they're all having their dinner.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to take a little
So
break
yeah,
here and go into a little game. I do this most episodes, so
sounds go for it.
not being prepped with this. This is a would you rather or this and that sort of game.
Okay,
I'm going to tell you some questions and just let me know what you'd rather and maybe a little reason why.
okay.
So the first one, would you rather? Oh yeah, some of these are a bit weird, by the way, just so you know.
I love weird. That's fine. Let's go.
Would you rather be covered neck to toe in tattoos or have one big face tattoo?
Neck to toe.
Neck to toe. What's that?
I mean, I'm already nearly there. To be fair, like,
Yeah.
um, I don't like face tattoos.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's yeah. I haven't really got an educated answer for that. I'm afraid.
No, that's
I
cool.
just,
That's
I
good.
just think that neck to toe. Yeah, I prefer that. Yeah, but like I say, I've got a few tattoos anyway. So yeah, neck to toe is fine.
Nice and simple. That's good. I'm
Yeah,
the same. Keep it professional as well. You can put a polo neck
yeah,
on.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, another one. If you could only choose one type of holiday for the rest of your life, would you rather it be a city break or a beach break?
That's hard.
Mm,
That's hard. Oh, I'm going to say beach.
beach holiday.
I'm going to say I love a city break. I love exploring, especially in our job. I try like to take my camera everywhere.
Yeah.
But you've got to get that relaxation in, haven't you, when you can?
Yeah.
And we don't get a lot in this job. I do love it for it, but like make the most of that chill time when you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite beach? You got a favorite beach?
Favorite beach. I haven't actually, to be honest. In fact, do you know what? I'll be dead honest. Beaches aren't really my favorite thing.
Mm,
Obviously, the reference to beaches was, more the fact that it's like, a resort and a pool holiday and, that type of thing. But yeah, no, beaches aren't really my favorite thing.
yeah.
It's an argument that comes up with me and my wife most holidays, to be honest with you. We'll go to the beach because the kids love going to the beach. And I'm just so paranoid with the kids being swept away in the sea. And then we walk back to the hotel and I've got sands in places that we shouldn't mention and things like that. So, but yeah, generally speaking, yeah, beaches aren't my favourite. But one memorable beach was South Beach in Miami. It's
Cool.
just cool. It's stereotypically Miami. I don't know if you've ever been, but if you ever walk down it, it's like Hummers, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, fellas are like doing pull-ups on the beach and all that. It's so stereotypically Miami, but yeah, that was like one memorable place, I suppose.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you know what, mine would be America as well. Mine would be Venice because
Oh yeah.
just my thought, my imagination of what Venice Beach would look like. It's basically
Yeah.
like, GTA. You think of all those things, and it is. You
Yeah.
get there, and you're like,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah. Exactly.
so cool, nice. Okay, right. Here's a weird one. Would you
Go on.
rather pee yourself every time you laughed, or snot loads every time you laughed?
Ooh,
It's a hard one, that one. Horrible, disgusting.
yeah. Probably snot.
Yeah,
At least you can wipe your face in public.
yeah.
If you've pissed yourself, it's hard to change your pants in public, isn't it?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
This is a good time to mention our sponsors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dry Nights by Men.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh dear. I love that.
Yes. I was thinking about doing that, saying our sponsor for this episode is Dry Nights by Men. Me and Greg love Dry Nights, don't we?
Yeah. Oh mate, don't honestly.
Okay, another one. Would you rather have to walk backwards everywhere or sprint everywhere?
Probably sprint everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Walking backwards is a bit awkward, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe walk backwards everywhere. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to say walk backwards everywhere. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Don't
get
know
a few
why.
good, you get some good shots walking backwards, don't you? I suppose.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose sprint. If I had to sprint everywhere, I couldn't do weddings, could I? Imagine sprinting up and down the aisle while they're doing the vows.
It's true. Yeah.
That'd be awkward.
Especially in England, all those creaky floorboards and these venues.
Oh yeah.
Man. Right, I've got one little feature that I want to try out today. This feature is called "Explain That Gram,"
Okay.
and I've just basically picked an Instagram post from your
Okay.
Instagram, and it's a reel that you made, and basically just your thoughts behind it. So I'm going to quickly now get this up.
I film weddings. Of course, I've told my wife this is the last camera I'm ever going to need to buy, although I've got another one on order. I film weddings. Of course I'll do extra edits for the venue, for them to then charge me £10 for a Diet Coke at the bar. I film weddings. Of course I don't mind kids crying at speeches and ceremonies, then getting asked to fix it in the edit. I film weddings, and of course I don't mind that the venue aren't going to feed me, even though that the nearest Tesco is about 1,000 miles that way. I film weddings. Of course I don't mind changing the music, even though I've been working on your edit for 6 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. That's so good. So, what was the thought on the planning behind that reel?
So the thought is, I'd say a multitude of things, but I was trying to be dead careful around that one because I thought if for whatever reason that I've shot a wedding the day before I recorded it, that venue are going to think that it's about them.
Yeah.
So it was like I was recording in a similar time to now, where I haven't got a wedding for a couple of weeks, and that type of thing. But it was just over a multitude of things. I still stand by most of them comments, to be honest. In fact, what was actually quite funny is the next wedding that I went to after that, the venue were like, "Do you need a drink? You okay?" Yeah. I was like, "Yeah, fine." I was like, "Oh my god!" But some of them do. Some of them do, and then notorious for it. They'll be the first to email you asking for content, or can you send me the link to, like, your VidFlow link or your YouTube link or whatever to this video. And then, like, when you're at there, it's like, that's £6.20 for a Diet Coke and a normal Coke, and you're like, what? But I mean, more often than not, I'll always pay because I'm never going to fight it on the day of the wedding.
No,
but it's like, come on, man, like. We do. I actually say this all the time, and I've just met with me planner friend this morning. And we're actually like, I mean, not shocked because it's a pretty obvious statement, this, but venues never really have to pay for content.
No, they don't.
Because they have us, like the photographers, now the content creators, even the florists take photos, and some of the makeup artists and stuff are now turning up with like Sony cameras and 24 to 70mm lenses and stuff. So it's like they never have to pay for content. And I think the least they could do is give us a Diet Coke.
Yeah, it's totally true.
I mean, I think it's more insulting knowing that, like, when I had a coffee shop and I know what it costs for, like, the actual the syrup that goes in these machines, and it literally, like, a Diet Coke cost them about 40p. And it's like, they want to charge us £6. I get it. Like, it's a business and you've got to make money here, but, you know, don't piss us off because we're the ones who've got to send you the content. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, ironically, I'd never fight with them and I'd always send them the content anyway, even if they did charge me that. But yeah, you know, it is one of them. But and then there was like, you know, there's been some venues in the past that haven't fed us, or were an afterthought. And it's like, well, you know, I get it. On the day of the wedding, like when they'll say, like, you know, we'll feed you after we fed the guests. Like, that's fine. I'm not expecting you to feed me now. I'm not priority. The couple are a priority, and I get that. But it's like when they forget, and then they feed us, and then you go, oh, just to let you know, guys, here's your main course, or here's your dinner, and then the speeches are starting in like 20 seconds. So. Yeah, I know. Like, come on, man! Like, just let me have me roast dinner. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then a couple of other points. Yeah, kids crying at weddings. I haven't got a problem with kids at weddings, although a couple of posts might have said otherwise. My issue is that I think kids at weddings, if they're part of the wedding, aka your own wedding or like a family wedding, they need to be there. They are part of the day. They are important to the story and everything else. But it's guests who bring the kids and don't have a plan. So when I say plan, it's like it's usually during speeches and ceremony when there'll be a crying 2-year-old at the back of the room. And the cousin of the bride, whose baby it is, says to a partner, well, I'm not leaving the room because it's my cousin. And he goes, well, you know, I went last time. No, like, and then they fight over this kind of like, who's going now and where are we going? It's like, just leave the room. Just leave the room. Like, as much as we're good at editing and, like, you know, fixing audio and post and all the rest of it, we're not magicians. And we can't get rid of that. And like you've got to remember, it's quite selfish on the couple's part, on the guest's part to the couple. So yeah, it was just a gentle push. A lot of people with me agreed with me ultimately. I think photographers and videographers don't want to say it because, again, they don't want to piss people off, and I get that. You're kind of in an industry where, like, you know, you piss the wrong person off, you might not work at that venue again. You might not get referred for any of your friends' weddings. I get that, but you know, we have needs creatively what we want to do to make the best film possible. Because I have had it in the past. I had one guy from a wedding about 5 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and a guest had their phone on loud, and the phone went off during the father of the bride's speech. And the groom come back to me and said, "Can you remove it?" I said, "The thing is, if I remove that phone ringing, I get it why you want it out." I said, "But if I remove that part of the speech, it was a part where the father of the bride was saying he was saying really nice things about his daughter and how, like, she was brought up and how she grew up doing this, and this. And it's like, if I remove it, you lose a bit of the oomph in, like, the story." And I will, but guests just need to be a bit more aware, let's say.
No, it's true. And it's also another sort of a reminder for videographers, especially during the ceremony. Nothing pains me more when I've mic'd up the groom and then he picks up his little 1-year-old and it's like, no, and the little kid's sitting there playing with the mic, dunk, 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 the whole way through. So have backups after backup.
100%. It is things that you can't avoid, isn't it? Though, you know what I mean. But exactly. I think, like, just the guests, and they need to be a bit more vigilant. But at the same time, you don't want to step on too many toes because, like I say, with the groom, you're never going to say to the groom, "If you pick your son up, this might cock up the audio." So just think about
put your baby down.
Think about it. So but definitely.
No, that's good. Right, okay, let's get back into that. Good reel, by the way. Very good reel. Loved it.
Thank you.
So yesterday on my Instagram, I put a little story out for couples, if they want for this podcast that they listen to it, what questions I should be asking. What would they like me to ask this? And I've got one here. What would you say would make you stand out in this industry compared to others? Don't have to answer for yourself, but what would you say if you were talking to someone about this?
People buy from people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you don't show your personality on your page, you are just another number in the industry, unfortunately. The competition over the last 5 years has grown significantly. There's so many good videographers and photographers out there now. Everyone ranges from different prices and different kind of strategy to what they offer, whether it be albums or glass albums or delivering on VidFlow or sending DVDs. No one does that anymore, but you know what I mean? Everyone's got their own methods of what they do. But I think to stand out, if people were to copy your content for whatever reason, whether your content is viral content or whether it's just something that they've seen that they like and they want to replicate, at the end of the day, they can't copy you.
No.
And you are your own person, and people will always buy from people. No matter how much AI is now coming into play and it's taken over in certain respects, you'll never lose that personal element, basically. So yeah, just be yourself and make sure you put yourself out there to let people know that you do what you do. And that's ultimately why I posted that type of reel. I was like, I don't think I'm funny. But sometimes I know I can say funny comments, but again, I might come across more personable than X, Y, or Z videographer, because they are, let's be honest, some of them are quite scared to put the face on Instagram.
Yeah.
So they come across it's a faceless business then at that point. But yeah, I've always believed that customer service is key, but you don't want to just be speaking to kind of, admin at GBweddingfilms. You want to be speaking to Greg.
Yeah.
And yeah.
No, that's good. That's nice. When did you start doing this sort of thing? When did you start putting your face out there? And was it straight away or was it eventually?
No, it was probably, I'm going to say 3 or 4 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I actually can't remember. That's one thing I can't remember, to be honest. I think it was incremental, but I think I knew a lot. I always wanted to try and get into YouTube, which I'm trying to get into now. So, again, shameless plug, go and check me on YouTube. But I filmed my first video on YouTube in 2019 and I hated it.
Right.
And I kind of edited it in a way where every third word I said basically.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm Greg. Basically, I'm a barber and a videographer. Basically, I love driving my car. And basically, I love Red Bull. And basically, so the video, I ended up calling it, Basically, I'm Greg. So I just tried to play on it a bit, do you know what I mean? But then ultimately, again, I think that's probably when it started then. So let's say 2019-ish. But I think as far as social presence is concerned, we don't want to post on our grid every single day. I mean, it'd be amazing to kind of have 365 days worth of films and BTS content and all the rest of it. But in a real world with family and wives and husbands or, businesses and, what's going on in life personally, it's hard. Social media is hard. And it's a full-time job in itself. So I've always said, even if, which you've seen and you mentioned the other day about my son losing his football cards and my car's broke. I ended up saying at the end of that story, I'm probably not going to post for a couple of days because I can't be asked.
Yep.
And I had a couple of my mates reply saying you're hilarious, you just say it how it is. And I was like, well, I can't. I just think I don't think there's any shame in saying that you're not in the mood to post on Instagram, because I think in our line of work we're kind of expected to. I mean, ironically, I started posting about 4 hours later, so it was that kind of went out the window straight away. But you know what I mean? I think it's yeah, it's just trying to be consistent generally. But yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. I think it's. Did you notice a difference then when you started posting your personality on your socials? Did you notice your engagement went up, your followers went up?
Yeah, 100%.
No, that's
Because
cool.
people just find it so much more relatable.
Mm.
I think, like I say, we all shoot on very similar gear,
Yep.
and we all shoot on very similar settings and that type of thing. So there's not a lot of difference in the way I do things to probably how you do things, to be honest, and how like other videographers may do things. Obviously, some people might shoot on more expensive cameras or lesser expensive cameras, but that shouldn't define who you are.
Yeah.
And that said, you shouldn't let a film define who you are either. I
Mm.
think who you are is who you are,
Yep.
without stating the dead obvious. But yeah, but I think that's one thing I love about weddings in particular is that people book you for your vision.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we almost try and follow a template to how we edit and how we shoot weddings. And, let's be honest, weddings are templated, if you want to call it that, the way it's like bride prep, or groom prep, bride prep, you know what I mean? Like, and then it goes on to ceremony, drinks reception, cocktail hour, canapes, speeches, that type of thing. It does have a natural flow.
Yeah.
So it is structured, but that doesn't mean that our films have to be that way. So, I think it's good that we kind of we can let our personality show in our films as well. But back to that, I think it's important to show your face and show people what you're really about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Well, it's been great chatting. The last question I've got really is I ask it at the end of every episode. I ask it at the end of every episode to get my words out. So, you said you're married. How long have you been married for?
2017 now, so 7 years.
7 years.
My
Yeah.
math is terrible, by the way. I literally had to count on my finger.
I should have been able to tell you that because I got married in 2016. So I should have been
right, fair enough. Yeah.
So with your wedding then, so if you could plan your dream wedding now, yourself and your wife, no money's issue, no money involved, location, family, politics, all that is out of the way. What would you do and where would it be?
So, embarrassingly, me and my wife have this conversation quite a lot.
Okay.
To be honest. So I do have an answer for you. The boring answer is that I probably wouldn't change anything for what we'd done at our own wedding. We got married in Lake Garda in Italy.
Nice.
So in terms of what would we change or what would be like the dream location, that was kind of the dream location for us. So I probably wouldn't change the location as such. I think the only thing that we probably change, this is a really boring answer, and I'm really sorry, mate. But the only thing that we've said we change is maybe like get like a suite in the hotel.
Okay.
Get like a big F-off room,
Yeah.
or maybe get like a longer drinks reception. Something happened at our wedding which I was kind of annoyed about at the end of the night when I didn't realise. But basically, this is again another boring part of the story, but I'm going to tell it anyway because you've asked. When we got married, there was we had 3 time slots, and it was either 11, 2, or 4 p.m. So I said, well, I want to make the most of the day. I want to get married as early as possible, but I want the party to go on as long as possible. We've paid all this money. I want it to last long. I don't want it to be like a 4-hour day and then it's like, good night, we're going to bed, see you later, see you in the morning. So they said, we want to get married at 11 o'clock, or it might have been 12 o'clock, but anyway, whatever time it was. But we want to have the party and the wedding reception later on. So the planners that we dealt with said, well, the problem that you've got is the time that you want for the later on goes for the later on, the 4 o'clock time slot. So we have another option. So they've said, well, we've got this Michelin star restaurant that you can use and it's going to cost no extra. And we were like, perfect. Like, we're foodies. So like when they said that, we were like, sold, just do it. So because it was a Michelin star restaurant, what had happened was they said to us, they only sell white wine, red wine, beer, and water.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, that's a problem. It's like, we're going to need some sort of spirits or, soft drinks for the kids and stuff like that. So we had a pre-meeting with the wedding, with the restaurant where the reception was. And we sat down with them, and they ended up going to the wholesalers in Italy for us. And they said, what we'll do is we'll have a bar on with all the drinks, but instead of charging what we charge for a bottle of beer, we'll just charge €5 per drink.
Cool.
And at the end of the night, they give us the bill. Instead of everyone just giving €5 in, and people were ordering triple gins and all kinds of stuff. So at the end of the night, they give us the bill, and without me thinking of it, I just went into obviously, well, we'll just split it between. There was 10 tables. We'll split it between the 10 tables and whatever it was, and we put in a little amount of money each, and the bill was 350 quid. They definitely undercharged us, by the way.
That's mad.
Massively. Because, I mean, you can bear in mind, it was 50 Scousers, by the way. So,
yeah.
It was everyone was drinking quite heavily. And, literally we got home and I said to Helen, my wife, I said, I wish I'd have just paid that bill. Just without thinking of it. Do you know what I mean? I was just I don't know why, but I just kind of went into wedding planning mode, I suppose. I was right, yeah, 10 tables, it's 30 quid a table or whatever it was. And everyone just paid it, no problem. But, and you just think, I mean, if it was a $3,000 bill, I'd say, yeah, fair enough, let's split it all. But it wasn't. It was it was relatively cheap for what it was. And that's probably my only kind of regret, or maybe one thing that I would have changed on the day.
That's a massive thing for you.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, I mean, again, it's I mean, do you know what? I think it's funny, because I think knowing what I know now, things would have been so much different in terms of, I probably would have been a bit more hands-on. For example, our planner included a photographer, and the photographer was included for 5 hours. Right. And at the time, I was like, that's well enough. 5 hours is fine. And
yeah,
it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't enough. So it was a good job that we had a videographer, to be honest. And ironically, I didn't want a videographer for our wedding. So that kind of led me on to doing wedding film for myself now moving forward. Because I was like, well, it's so valuable. And I think these couples need to realise how valuable it is too. So it's not just a case of you're paying all this money. But I do really think that wedding films aren't just for the short-term memories. I think they're for the long term. I think you'll really look back at a wedding film in say 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Hopefully we're all here, still here at that point. But I think it's so important to have the memories moving forward, opposed to just so much thought into oh my God, they charge X, Y, and Z for a wedding film, and they're only there for the day. And it's I wish I was only there for the day, and I wish I could deliver you the film the day after, but it doesn't work like that. It doesn't. But yeah, I think it's so important.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Have your day filmed, yeah.
I agree. Well, it's been amazing, mate, to chat to you. Nice to meet you as well. And
it's been a quick hour, that, mate. I've really enjoyed speaking to you, to be fair. Yeah,
it's been good. Okay, what's your tags? What's your website and your socials as well? So
my website is gbweddingfilms.co.uk, and Instagram is at gbweddingfilms, and I might as well tell you my YouTube as well. It's at Mr. Greg Burnett.
Mr. Greg Burnett.
All one word. Yeah. Bit of a mouthful, but yeah, I'm primarily on Instagram, to be fair. So
yeah.
I'm also on TikTok and all that. But yeah, where'd you stop?
I've tried TikTok and it doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
I don't enjoy it.
I think people like to see the raw stuff on TikTok, don't they? The kind of unedited, not even the behind the scenes, really, to be honest with you. I think they just TikTok favour.
Okay.
Not necessarily content, but I think they like it when there's no thought put into it. Do you know what I mean? It's with Instagram, it needs to be. We want to make sure it's polished because that's our portfolio, if you like. But with TikTok, it can be a bit more free. So, food for thought.
Didn't know that. I shall take that on board. Nice, cool. Sure. Well, enjoy your workshop as well. It was at Avanza, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, Avanza Workshop on Instagram, and it's Avanza Workshop pave.co.uk, I believe. Please let me just fact check that, because if it's .com, I'll go mad on myself. Yeah, it's actually avanzaworkshop.com.
avanzaworkshop.com. And
I don't even
awesome.
know
And
the
if
website.
you're wanting to go out there and join Greg in Ibiza, I think he's got a couple tickets left. So yeah.
Actually, seeing as we're here and seeing as we've mentioned it, if there's anyone who's following and will see this podcast and is considering a destination workshop, we have a 20% discount code for your listeners.
Ah, dude. Nice one. Cool.
So, if they want to join, tell them to message, tell them they found the workshop through the podcast, and we'll hook them up and you get them sorted for some amazing content on Ibiza, obviously.
Sweet. Nice one, man.